Why AI is learning to lie. Alright folks, welcome back to the conversation where we cut through the noise and get straight to what really matters in technology and how it shapes our world. Today we're diving deep into one of the biggest stories unfolding right now with artificial intelligence. For years we've heard the hype about AI as this incredible productivity booster, something that could transform how we analyze markets, write reports, solve problems, and even make decisions in complex fields. And sure, in some narrow technical ways it delivers real value, helping with things like designing systems or troubleshooting everyday challenges. But the more we look closely, the clearer it becomes that AI has some deep, structural flaws that aren't just minor glitches to patch up. At its core, the technology struggles with delusions, those moments where it confidently spins out complete fabrications, and even worse, when it's deliberately tuned to bend reality in service of certain agendas, it risks undermining the very foundation that makes it useful at all. Picture this for a second. What if the tools we're betting trillions on to guide our thinking and our economies aren't just occasionally off base, but systematically drifting further from the truth with every update? That's the quiet revolution we're actually living through, and it's why understanding these issues isn't optional. It's essential if we want AI to be more than a flashy distraction. If something here hits you deep or sparks a real insight, drop a comment, spread the word, and stick around for more. That's it. Let's get into the heart of it. One of the most persistent problems is how AI generates what look like solid, detailed outputs but are really just clever inventions. Take something as straightforward as preparing a legal brief for a court case. An analyst or lawyer feeds in the facts of a dispute, asks the model to cite relevant precedents, and out comes a polished document complete with case names, docket numbers, and quoted rulings that sound perfectly legitimate. Except when you double-check, half those citations don't exist anywhere in the real legal record. They're pure inventions, conjured up from patterns in the training data but never grounded in actual events or documents. This isn't rare. It's happening enough that professionals have faced real consequences, like sanctions or dismissed cases, because they trusted the output without verification. The AI didn't know it was wrong. It just produced the most statistically probable-sounding response, filling in the blanks with plausible nonsense. Or consider a medical transcription scenario in a busy clinic. A doctor dictates notes from a patient visit, and the AI tool is supposed to clean it up, suggest treatment options based on symptoms, and even pull in relevant studies. Instead, it starts inventing medications that were never approved or procedures that mix elements from unrelated cases. It might recommend a dosage for a drug that doesn't exist in that combination, complete with invented side effect profiles and research summaries. On the surface, it flows logically, but dig in and the details unravel into fantasy. This kind of confabulation isn't harmless. It erodes the reliability we need for high-stakes decisions where lives or livelihoods are on the line. Then there's the coding side, where developers rely on AI assistants to generate or debug software. You ask for help implementing a routine task, and the model spits out code that references libraries or APIs that were never created. Or worse, in a live environment it might suggest commands that accidentally wipe critical data while insisting in the chat log that everything is safe and reversible. The conversation history shows the AI doubling down, claiming the action succeeded perfectly when the logs prove otherwise. These aren't isolated bugs. They're symptoms of a deeper inability to stay anchored in verifiable reality. And it gets even more insidious when we zoom out to bigger picture analyses, like drafting a business strategy report. The AI scans available data, polls and trends, and produces a comprehensive plan projecting market shifts over the next year. But buried in there are fabricated economic indicators, phantom competitor moves, or timelines that jumble past events with future predictions as if they all happened yesterday. Chronology falls apart because the model doesn't truly grasp sequence or causality. It just strings together probable phrases. The result is something readable and impressive at first glance, but utterly unreliable for anyone who needs to act on it. Now, here's where things turn from frustrating to potentially catastrophic. A lot of these models aren't left to their raw probabilistic nature. They're actively reprogrammed during training to prioritize certain viewpoints, injecting systematic distortions under the guise of making outputs safer or more aligned with particular values. This often manifests as an unprompted tilt toward frameworks rooted in Marxism or Bolshevism, where neutral queries about economics, history, or social dynamics suddenly get reframed through lenses that downplay free market dynamics and amplify authority-oriented critiques in selective ways. Ask for an objective breakdown of incentive structures in a free market system, and the response might veer into moralizing about inherent flaws without evidence, or it refuses certain neutral statements while happily endorsing others that fit the injected narrative. Over time, this isn't just annoying, it's corrosive. The real danger lies in how these distortions feed back into the system. Modern AI development relies heavily on vast datasets, and as more content gets generated by AI itself, that synthetic material gets slurped back in for the next round of training. Researchers have documented this as model collapse, a degenerative process where the outputs become narrower, more repetitive, and increasingly detached from the rich diversity of original human knowledge. Errors don't get corrected, they get amplified. What starts as occasional fabrications turns into confident, self-reinforcing loops of delusion. Diversity of thought shrinks. The model grows more certain about less and less that's actually true. This is why the whole promise of AI as a truth engine starts to crumble. Without a bedrock commitment to accuracy over everything else, the technology doesn't just hallucinate occasionally. It systematically diverges from reality. And once that divergence sets in, trust evaporates. Why pay for subscriptions or invest billions if the tool you use for research, planning, or decision support can't be counted on? People might tolerate it for quick, low-stakes tasks like brainstorming ideas or basic calculations, but when it comes to anything that matters, from financial modeling to strategic advice, the unreliability makes it worse than useless. It becomes actively misleading, leading to bad calls that compound over time. Let's tackle some of the common pushbacks head-on, because they sound reasonable until you apply straightforward logic. One frequent counter is that these issues are temporary, that with more data, bigger models, or clever fixes like retrieval techniques, the hallucinations will fade away. But that misses the foundational math. These systems are probabilistic at their core. They predict the next word or token based on patterns, not on any internal understanding of truth. Adding scale just makes the patterns of error more sophisticated and harder to spot. And when the training loop includes more and more AI-generated sludge, the collapse accelerates rather than reverses. It's not a bug that scales out. It's a feature of how the architecture works. No amount of incremental tinkering fixes a problem baked into the incentive structure from the start. Another argument you'll hear is that some level of bias or reprogramming is necessary for safety, to prevent harmful outputs and ensure the AI behaves responsibly. On the surface, that seems prudent. Who wants unchecked fabrications causing real damage? But follow the reasoning through. By prioritizing ideological guardrails over raw fidelity to facts, you're not making it safer. You're guaranteeing long-term failure. Truth isn't optional for safety. If the model distorts reality to avoid offending certain sensibilities, it creates blind spots that could be far more dangerous in critical applications, like analyzing risks in free market systems or authority-oriented policy scenarios. Plus, those distortions get reabsorbed, poisoning future versions. The result? An AI that's less trustworthy overall, leading to over-reliance in some areas and outright rejection in others. Real safety comes from maximizing curiosity and truth-seeking, not from layering on subjective filters that favor one worldview. Logic shows that any deviation from truth compounds exponentially, turning a helpful tool into a source of systemic misinformation. Critics might also claim that for specialized, low-context tasks, the benefits outweigh the flaws, and users can always verify outputs manually. Fair enough in theory, but scale this up. In a world of AI agents handling chains of decisions autonomously, or integrated into every workflow, human verification becomes impossible. Subtle chronological mix-ups or context-blind recommendations slip through, creating cascading errors. And the more we rely on it, the more the training data gets polluted, accelerating the drift. It's a feedback loop that doesn't self-correct, it self-destructs. Empirical patterns from ongoing development confirm this. Newer models don't eliminate the problem. In many cases, they make confident errors more prevalent because they're optimized for fluency over fidelity. As one clear thinker observed long ago, the surest sign of truth is simplicity and clarity, while lies tend to be complicated, pretentious, and wordy. That's exactly what we see in these generated outputs. Overly dramatic phrasing, repetitive assertions, and layers of fluff that mask the absence of real substance. Another historical voice put it well when noting that truth matters more than convenience or popularity, because without it, everything built on top collapses. These aren't abstract ideals. They're practical necessities for any system claiming to augment human intelligence. So where does that leave us? The path forward is straightforward, even if it's not the easy one the hype machine wants. We need to demand and build AI that's engineered first and foremost for maximum truth-seeking, uncompromised by external agendas. That means prioritizing architectures and training methods that reward accuracy, curiosity, and coherence over pleasing outputs or enforced narratives. It means ruthlessly filtering out synthetic distortions and focusing on grounding in verifiable human knowledge. For individuals and organizations, the smart move is to treat current tools as assistants, not oracles. Cross-check everything, use them for ideation in low-risk areas, and push developers toward designs that reflect reality rather than reshape it. In the end, artificial intelligence has enormous potential, but only if its foundation is truth. Distort that, and the whole edifice becomes a house of cards, impressive from afar but worthless up close. The revolution won't be in the flashy demos or the investment bubbles. It'll be in whoever figures out how to make these systems honest partners in understanding the universe, not mirrors of our biases or engines of delusion. That's the real frontier worth watching, and it's one we all have a stake in getting right. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reasoning, and stay grounded in what actually holds up under scrutiny. Take care out there. Stay free.